This video is available. I'll put it in the description below. It's actually a pretty good breakdown of COPPA. But what had happened is that some people took YouTube to court in New York.
Was it people or was it just the Attorney General?
They represent. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's some.
Well, to me, it does matter because if it was a group of concerned parents who were like, Google collected information from our kids and we need to sue them, versus a grifting politician who's looking for an opportunity to shake Google down. I'm not saying the parents would be right in this context, but I think there is a difference.
The point is, yeah, that may be the end, the means, but the end. The point is the end is that once you get government regulating these companies, what you thought was going to happen is not what actually happens. So I will break this video down for you, for the viewers here. Basically, someone took YouTube to court in New York over the definition of what a child is. And YouTube knew this many, many years ago, which is why to make an account on YouTube, you have to be 13 years or older. So the definition of a child for YouTube lawyers back then was 12 and younger. Well, I guess the law in New York doesn't pan out that way. And YouTube was taken to court in New York because the definition of a child is different between, I think YouTube goes by California law.
Well, I thought COPPA was a federal law that
it's
defines
FTC.
That under 13 years. And that's why Google, not only Google, but Facebook and Snapchat, I read into this. This is why they don't allow users under 13 because they don't want to get
They thought
destroyed.
they were safe. They thought they were safe until that YouTube was taken to court and found guilty because they were taking identification from children. But what YouTube thought was children was only 12 and under, which is why 13 and above is that limit. But no, according to New York or when you're a company, you're dealing with laws in all different states and countries. It's a mess. I would never want to run a company. So basically, YouTube ran afoul a law over the definition of a child. So YouTube got sued for $140 or $170 million and lost. So what had happened now is the FTC is now regulating YouTube, saying you need to clean house for child-friendly content. Otherwise, we're going to keep slamming you. So what does YouTube do? YouTube goes, hold on, give us some definitions that we can go by. And the FTC, this is the FTC's ruling. FTC says that a user, a YouTube content creator, is 100% responsible for the content they put on YouTube. So whether it's publisher or platform, out the fucking window, because it's not going to work the way people think it's going to work. So what happens is the FTC says when individual users violate FTC regulations, the user will be taken to court, not YouTube. So people thought, once again, I'm using this very vague term. People think you could regulate YouTube for your benefit. Well, YouTube got regulated. So now, if you upload a video, you have a choice to flag it child-friendly or not child-friendly. If you flag it child-friendly, but your video has fuck in it, or the N-word, or whatever some bureaucrat thinks it's not child-friendly, you can be fined up to $40,000 per infraction. So now, content creators on YouTube who wanted these regulations to stick it to the bourgeoisie, to YouTube, are now found in a position where the government's like, no, we're sticking it to you. We're protecting YouTube. Why? Protectionism. Once you get the government involved in this, you're getting fucked. The companies don't get fucked. They find ways to get around it to protect them. If I were YouTube, I'd do the exact same thing. I'd be like, you know what? How can I get out of this? I'm stuck between a government and my user base, both who hate me. FTC basically says, well, if your users fuck up, it's on them. YouTube says, sure. There you go. So now, like in this video and some other videos I saw, content creators are now angry at YouTube for not providing the tools for combating the FTC and these fines. What? So for the past 2 years, I've been hearing almost universally across YouTube, from the left and the right, to regulate these companies. Someone's finally doing it for the children, and who gets screwed in the end? Us. So if this,
I want to expand on that point because, I hate to brag about my academic credentials or lack thereof, but I had to take a broadcast law class when I was in college, and we talked a lot about the FCC and their content standards and their regulation over speech on the public airwaves. And all this, you often hear about the 7 dirty words that George Carlin bit, and safe harbor hours, and even broadcast stations were required by law, if they wanted to keep their license and avoid penalty, they had to air. I think Univision actually got fined millions of dollars for this. If you had a broadcast channel in the United States, you had to provide a certain amount of children's educational programming every week, and have PSAs and whatnot. And this is how you get this. It's like I always say, what about the children is the most cowardly yet most effective argument in American politics. And we're seeing it play out right here with COPPA. What started out back in 2000 as I would say you can make a case that it's pretty reasonable. Kids are not able to consent to companies for them to take their information. It's called the Child Online Privacy Protection Act. Now it is being used. I think this is being used to get Google and YouTube and all the content creators to bring them under the scope and under the regulation of government, not to mention the shakedown, $140 million. Is that how much damage Google did, really?
But
anyway.
I'm agreeing with you, but that's where these definitions get you, because all these companies thought they were following the definition of what a child is by keeping it at 13 and above. Because once you're 13, you're not legally a child, but apparently in New York, you still are. That's where they got you.
According to the FTC's website, because it's not the FCC, it's the FTC. The Federal Trade. Yes. Right. According to their website, they did say that they are going to keep looking into this to see if they need to make any mandatory changes. But we just saw Razorfist say that he doesn't think any regulation's coming. After this COPPA situation, I think regulation is definitely coming because we have politicians on both sides of the aisle. Josh Hawley, he's a Republican senator from Missouri. Ted Cruz, Mr. Capitalism, Mr. Quoting Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged on the Senate floor back in 2012. He's called for social media regulation. And I think this is eventually going to get used to get government, the federal government, further entrenched in Google and social media.
Of course. And you've had conservatives like Ben Shapiro and others debate platformer or publisher.
Yes.
Well, here is a union of cronyism where they subvert that. They said publisher platform, doesn't matter. You, the user, is getting slammed for this, not us. So these people, oh my God, stop going to the government for help. It's not, you're just going to get fucked in the ass. Stop doing this.
If Tim Pool gets his YouTube channel shut down or if he gets fined for this stupid COPPA regulation, I think he's getting exactly what he deserves.
The YouTubers have been enjoying basically capitalism, like a taste of capitalism. Like, how amazing is this? Technology has enabled me to reach an audience of millions, and and we don't need to be told what to say. We can just figure out how to grow our videos and our channels and all of that. And they're kind of getting a taste of that. But at the same time, they want the government to regulate. A lot of them want the government to regulate the company, and they want the government to protect them from YouTube's executive decisions. There was a guy named a channel called Nerd City, and they did a video exposing Jake Paul. Everyone hates Jake Paul because he's a douche. But they're like, oh, Jake Paul is actually breaking a law that was passed in the 90s that said if you're advertising to children, you could only advertise for so many minutes in a row, or you could only advertise so many times, whatever it is, because Jake Paul plugs his merch every 10 seconds. And because there's evidence that Jake Paul knows his audience are many of them young, that this video is exposing, oh, Jake Paul is breaking the law. Haha, we got him. And I'm thinking oh, you idiots. You have no idea not only how gross you are, but also how much you're screwing yourself. So
absolutely.
I remember that that whole thing was just so, and we're only going to see more of it. The same people who want to be free to express themselves on YouTube. They want the companies to be regulated.
Imagine if you're an engineer in YouTube right now and you make, I don't know, $300,000 a year, and it's your job to do research and development into code, into a web of things I can't even begin to talk about here. But you have to plan this out 2, 5, 10 years in advance. You have to think long term, and out of nowhere, it's like, boom, this falls in your lap. How can you plan long term? How can you invest long term? How can you create a product long term? How can you be a human being when both your customers and the government sandwich you right in between? I mean, you're the enemy because you're rich if you're part of the plebs, and if you're a Republican or Democrat, you're just a target for redistribution and free money. So this is what happens to free thinking. Yeah, today in 2019, the current year. You try to run a business today. I could not do it. You can't. How do you know that you invest $50 million into hiring all these engineers and coders you make out these contracts, government then, boom, changes. Because like you said, the FTC might change their opinions going forward. It's just whim. It's just subjectivism. There's no objective law for you to follow and to plan accordingly. So I do understand YouTube creators' frustrations. You come on YouTube, you've been here for 5 or 10 years, and yeah, on your own, you don't think long term, but you think the platform you're on has your back. But even that, you can't rely on that. When your long term thinking is obliterated through regulations like this, just forget about it. There's really no hope for you to you're stuck thinking pragmatically. You're stuck with an epistemology that's no good for you on a day-by-day basis. Why should I take out a loan and start a tech company if the definition of a child gets changed in one state or something? I can't even predict what will happen to my company in 2 days, let alone 10 years. And this just stifles creativity and it really is just disgusting. It really is. You can't do it. So if you act pragmatically and if you act on your own subjective whims and emotions, both in practice and politics or in your own life, this is the kind of crap that's going to happen to you. And you deserve what you get. If you know there's a proper way around it. But if you're blind, if you're like a Tim Pool or a Sargon, you know better. But most people are just trying to make doll videos. Imagine.
Yeah, who knows how this will get enforced? What happens when, say, you have an adult-oriented channel and you mark all the videos, but then one day you accidentally click, this is for kids. You just do it by mistake, and then so let's say it's PewDiePie. Let's say, because I think his audience is younger, isn't it? Isn't a bunch of his audience like teenagers and kids and stuff?
I don't know what his demographic is, but sure.
Yeah, well, what if one day he makes a comedy video that's geared towards adults and he just accidentally clicks the wrong box, and then some government regulator decides to go after him and liquidate him and get him off the internet entirely?
So what if you're a content creator where these people take dolls and they repaint them? Years ago, I used to refurbish G.I. Joes for people. They would send me G.I. Joes, and then I would paint them and then use putty and fix them and send them back out. So you have a lot of YouTube videos.
Oh my God. Okay, this is kind of related. I watched the Toy Story movies for the first time a few months ago, mainly 2 and 3. Mm-hmm. And I remember the part where he's like fixing up Woody. I'm like, who the hell does that?
Yeah, I used to do that. It was good money. You'd get like a Snake Eyes. They'd pay you like $50 for you to paint it and send it back out. But their channels are flagged as not for children, because you choose either for child or not for children. But their content covers dolls. So you're going to have a bureaucrat in New York or the FTC or wherever who doesn't get anything, and they're going to look at the video and go, yeah, that's obviously marketed for children, according to them. And now their channel gets gigged for fix your content or you're going to be fined up to $40,000.
Not only that, but I mean, even if it's not the government directly deciding what's for kids and what's not, they'll just tell they're like, YouTube is already doing it, beating them to it, because YouTube doesn't want to get in trouble again. So there have been some big channels that overnight became children's channel because they do toy reviews, unboxing, whatever it is that is not even really for kids a lot of the time. It's more like adult, not like sex toys, but like adult toys. And they're getting overnight. Their whole channel is just like becoming like there's no comments allowed on it. There's no it's never going to be recommended anymore. It's just like overnight. It's in a new category where it cannot be monetized. And PewDiePie made a video about this. He was talking about how like for a while everyone was trying to be family friendly now to get ads on their video again. Like people stopped swearing and all these things. And now it'll be where like you need to swear to prove that you're not doing this for children so that you can maybe make some money. I'm the one guy who is always bright enough to put not for kids at the beginning of my videos. So I don't know if that's going to help me or hurt me when
even someone like David Pakman, he was doing the Democratic debate. He watches the entire like 7 hours and streams it, and CNN hit him with a copyright strike. And he didn't even have anything from CNN on his video. Nothing, because the feeds are public feeds from the government. So you could stream it however you want. So, and his show is FCC compliant. He follows all the rules, and he still gets gigged for stuff.